All right, welcome everybody. My name is Christian, and I'm here with my brother Nick, and we are going to do our review of X-Men Apocalypse. We're going to go into no spoiler review in the beginning, and then I'm sure we'll devolve into a conversation where we spoil everything. So, overall, we both went in with managed expectations because reviews were a little mixed on this, and so we walked in thinking it wasn't going to be the best comic book movie of the summer. I still don't think it's the best comic book. I think Civil War still beats it, but I really enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it too, and honestly, after watching it, so going through the credits, I was wondering why does this have so many bad reviews?
Yeah, I was actually thinking that too. Like while I was watching, I was like, "Oh, this was very good. This was very good." And once again, like this isn't a spoiler, but it's my favorite scene in Days of Future Past was the Quicksilver scene. My favorite scene in this movie is also the Quicksilver scene. Maybe that's one thing that this movie suffers from is that it is just like Batman versus Superman. It's so heavy and dark and serious that Quicksilver is like the only fun, enjoyable part in it.
What about Nightcrawler? He was quite adorable.
Yeah, he was too, but like Nightcrawler, but Quicksilver, I think is like 80% of the levity of this whole well, maybe like 70% because they had a few lines that were pretty funny, like when they go to the movies and stuff like that. But
James McAvoy had a few adorable moments as well. Chris, I don't think this movie is as dark as you think it is.
I mean, but it's yet again another movie where the main villain wants to more or less destroy the world. And I think that's something that actually hurts it because, like, when you sit down and you go through various superhero movies, like, what is their motivation of the main villain? And when there's some nuance and some depth and some character, it makes it so much better. Like Nemo, trying to turn the Avengers against themselves. That was interesting plot.
Zemo.
Zemo.
The name's pronounced Zemo.
Yeah.
The thing is, Apocalypse has god-like powers, and of course has a god-complex ego to match up with it. He feels that only the strong should survive. You could believe how he could destroy the world, because the thing is, Chris, anything that involves Apocalypse in every incarnation that involves him involves the fate of the world. So I think people should stop complaining about how it's another end of the world scenario. Of course, it's another end of the world scenario. It's freaking Apocalypse. It would have been an insult to his character if he wasn't a threat to the entire world.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so I guess I was jumping into the negative. So overall, enjoyed this movie. Quicksilver was the best part of it. I think Sophie Turner playing Jean Grey was great. They did a good number of cameos. The number of characters that they brought in, they did a good job. It was like one of the few movies where Charles Xavier's mansion actually felt like a school. It actually, like a lot of times it's just it's noted that it's there and there's, paramilitary force in the basement, but it's like this is one they really were just a school.
I think that maybe this film's biggest sin is its underutilization of Psylocke. Now, personally, I never understood Psylocke as a character.
Well, there's been like so many iterations of it.
Yeah,
Got trained in Japanese samurai art.
got her brain transplanted
Yeah.
into another body. She's able to psychically summon up blades, and then suddenly she has telekinetic powers and she has telepathic powers. It gets her stories in the comics are getting really convoluted, and it's so difficult to have a grasp of her character. And they did simplify her. They just gave her simple psychic blades, and that's all she needs. And in the few action scenes that she was with Olivia Munn playing her, they were pretty awesome.
Yeah, and I actually kind of liked her in the beginning when she was still herself before she joined up with Apocalypse. I hope for Olivia Munn's sake she gets more of a role in the next like Deadpool movie or something like that, because I could.
She would be great in
Because Deadpool has interacted with Psylocke before, he refers to as one of the ex-babes.
You're referring to his video game, right?
Well, I'm sure they were drawing from other stuff, but I think there would be a good back and forth. And Olivia Munn is clever and she's funny. She was great in the newsroom. She was one of the best characters there. So I really hope to see more Psylocke, and I think in a Deadpool movie would actually be the best way to highlight that. I don't think it was a huge weakness. It's just a long movie. It's hard to give every character. Like, they spend so much time with Magneto. Magneto and Professor X are the heart of all these movies. Magneto is by far X-Men's best villain. It's because he has nuance and complexity, and he's suffered, and he's seen what humans can do to other humans, so he fears that for other mutants. But
you can relate to and understand how he has his violent mindsets.
yeah, but at the same time, it's like over and over and over again. It's like, when is he going to learn just to work with Charles rather than like keep on dicking him? The biggest one was how he suddenly turned the tables in Days of Future Past. I'm like, come on. The plan was working. You didn't have to be a jerk. But
well, I mean, don't forget what he did in X-Men 2.
Yeah, he tried to kill all humans. That little thing. Overall, I say go see it for yourself. It's a fun movie. It's enjoyable. It's way better than Rotten Tomatoes is saying. Sometimes the visual effects were amazing. And then there are other times where it really took you out of the movie. The scene with Quicksilver, again, amazing. They probably blew their entire effects budget on that. And also all the stuff that you see in the trailers of things turning into dust and swirling all around. Most of that was pretty cool. However, there's this 2 scenes where they randomly go to a harbor where a cargo ship with a bunch of storage units, and it looks like dog shit. It looks terrible.
It looks like something straight from an old Ratchet and Clank game.
There was no point of that. Like, if they couldn't afford to make it look good, they should have just cut that 10 seconds out from the film. Like, there were other parts where, like, it wasn't as good, but holy cow, that one scene, I was just like, they ran out of money. It was that bad.
Now, people remember, the treatment of Psylocke and this one scene are the only major criticisms we have against the film. So I think you can get a pretty good idea of how good the rest of it is.
Yeah, I didn't mean to harp on it, but it did kind of take me out of it. Overall, I really enjoyed this movie. A lot of fun. Just the new characters, the young characters were fun.
Kurt Wagner being awesome again.
Nightcrawler. Like, same thing with X2. Like, Nightcrawler is such an awesome character.
Yeah. Now, one thing that I want to praise is pretty much the head honcho of the movie, Apocalypse himself. I really enjoyed Apocalypse. I mean, you believed that this guy was a huge powerhouse, and you could understand how he was such a big powerhouse. He's basically a cult leader. When you think about it, is Bryan Singer mentioned in an interview that his powers of persuasion is left a little ambiguous. If he's actually using psychic powers, or if he is just convincing them.
I think he's using powers. I actually like the way that he transfers his body from one person to the other. I actually kind of like that better than in the comics and in the cartoon, how he would go into a regeneration chamber and stuff like that. I thought that was interesting. I actually really liked the part where them in ancient Egypt and the people rising up against him. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I mean, that was so cool seeing an entire pyramid collapse in on itself. It could be that his followers hollowed out the bottom without his knowledge.
I liked seeing that the humans rise. It actually kind of reminded me of Stargate. the aliens ruled ancient Egypt, and then the humans rebelled against them, and they got locked away for a long time. It's actually kind of similar to what happened with Apocalypse. Like Apocalypse was ruling over them, and then they betrayed him, and they were able to do an amazing job for someone that has so many powers. They definitely planned that pretty well. I'm sure it was part persuasion and part a little bit of brainwashing. Like especially with Psylocke, how quickly she was against him. And same thing with Storm, because Storm was like, "Oh, you can't kill people," and then suddenly she's on plan with essentially killing almost everyone in the world, and it showed that sudden shift because his eyes got all powerful and stuff. So
there is this one scene that really bothered me, and of course it involves Psylocke. It's her battle with Beast. Previously, she's shown to having able to summon.
A few seconds earlier, her whip goes through the stone and knocks it over, and then suddenly that same whip goes around his neck. How is he not just dead? So
I mean, it would have made sense if they gave Psylocke a bit more screen time. Maybe if they cut the silly barges scene, then gave her at least a sentence to explain that she doesn't want to kill everyone.
Yeah, Again, Olivia Munn is like so much better of an actress than this movie gave her. I'm sure there has to be deleted scenes with her because she probably says 5 lines in the whole movie.
I think even less than that. But they did hint that there's another X-Men movie coming up, and quite frankly, I'm a bit excited for it.
Yeah, and these are franchises, so I don't see how anyone could dislike Olivia Munn's version. But either way, I hope there's more of it. One criticism that a lot of people had was all this time prior, we saw Apocalypse just like turn people into dust and just wipe them out. But then when he's fighting the X-Men, he doesn't. And I think there's a reason for that. For example, when he was fighting Quicksilver, he locked in his foot. Psylocke was going to kill him. It turned out to be Raven, and she tried to kill. And then, again, he doesn't kill Raven, but he starts choking her. He's not killing them because he wants to draw out Charles Xavier, because that's who he wants. He wants Charles. So if he just wiped them away, he wouldn't be able to use them in the pursuit of Xavier. So that kind of justifies like why he was actually holding back and not killing them. And by the time he did want to fight fully, he was being simultaneously attacked so many times that he couldn't probably like concentrate. And he, at the same time of having a physical battle, he was also doing a mental battle with Charles that could have kept him at his full potential of just being able to turn people instantly into dust.
Yeah, and that is one thing that I did also like about this movie. I mean, Apocalypse was not defeated by a MacGuffin device or was overpowered by the Phoenix Force. He was overpowered by the most powerful mutant in the world attacking him at once.
Yeah, and being betrayed by his own horsemen. When Storm got him, and then when Magneto, like that kind of all took him by surprise. So no, that was good.
That was an epic way to finish off a villain who is basically a physical god.
Yeah, no, that was a good final battle. Probably one of the better comic book movie battles. This was a lot better than what people were giving it credit for.
Take care and good night, everyone.